And of course, this podcast is brought to you by orgretch.com. If you're going to JMac Podcast to get 15% off on the website. And tonight, we're joined by former Cork Ireland star Daniel Goodin, former Antrim footballer Kevin McCarthy, and GAA Fan TV host and creator Aaron Prendergast to talk about last weekend's Total Cup action and All Ireland action, and of course, this weekend's All Ireland quarter-finals. What a draw we had this morning. So looking forward to chatting to the lads today. I'll start off with yourself, Mr. Goodin. How are you?
Oh, top of the world, man. Top of the world. When beating two Division 1 teams in a row, it's like the old days. It's playing good football when we push up on the other team, and I suppose just great to see them going there. They're a team you like watching because there's no egos there. They just get on with it. Parky Creek was buzzing last Saturday, so up the road to Dublin now next Sunday. Tickets got, so looking forward to it.
The good times are back, my man, and long overdue. Mr. McCarthy, how are you?
I'm good, John. I'm good despite yesterday's results. Great to hear Dan's enthusiasm. I suppose, John, unfortunately, I share one trait with you that the other two guys on the screen have got over us, and that's we're both out of the championship. And these two buggers are heading to headquarters next weekend for, just this morning, 8:30, I'm stuck up in Inverness in the Highlands. I knocked on RT radio over breakfast. I just couldn't wait for that draw. And the juices are flowing on a Monday night because we're about to get into the real business end of the season. And, obviously, what Cork have done, what Mayo have done, I suppose, as well, it really is lining up for a beauty of a last 8 in the championship. And, if we could just have maybe 8 in the All-Ireland every year in the Sam Maguire, we'd be bloody good. But I suppose we had to get the other matches out of the way, which are, let's be honest, a waste of space. And listen, down to business this weekend. This is where it's all going to be at. And hopefully, for the promotion of our games, we get 2 sellouts on Saturday, Sunday. And we get 4 good games because we have 8 teams there. And on the day of it, anybody can beat anybody.
How did your wedding go today?
I was not a wedding, mate. I was not a wedding. I am going to one later on in the summer, which is going to be interesting. So it's a vegan-only wedding, so that's going to be interesting for me. The few days afterwards. We'll wait and see how that one goes. But apart from that, all good.
Brilliant stuff. Mr. Prendergast, I realised I called you GAA Fan TV host and creator. You have a bit of news for us. It's a new name.
Yeah, it's called Gaelic Games Fan TV now. How original, I suppose. But yeah, like I suppose the GAA are obviously clamping down on using that name. Like, fair enough. Obviously, the 3 letters are part of the name, but at the same time, it is 3 letters, and obviously, like I don't think any of us ever claim to officially be part of the GAA themselves. But yeah, no, look, it's obviously a new name. And yeah, no, happy to be here. Look forward to previewing the weekend's action.
Any crack first?
No, not at all. Like, much like the lads there, like it was some draw. Like listening to it this morning, like I seen Tommy Rooney's tweet earlier. Like, he must have known something that we didn't know, because about an hour before the draw, like he was saying these 4 games will be the most spiciest ever, and Mayo versus Dublin, Tyrone versus Kerry, Derry versus Cork, and obviously Armagh versus Monaghan. Like, all 4 games in many ways have their own unique history. Like Derry, Cork, obviously going back to 1993. Armagh, Monaghan, obviously two big rivals. Everyone knows the history between Dublin, Mayo, and Kerry, Tyrone as well. So yeah, there's so many storylines going into this weekend's games, and I think that's what's going to make it so fascinating.
Maybe Tommy Rooney got a bong under the table from someone in RT. Oh, did I say something wrong there this week? No. Maybe got a payment from RTE to put that out beforehand. I don't know. I'm just saying. Could all come out in the wash.
The money was just resting in Mr. Ryan Turbidy's account, Kevin.
He knew nothing about it. He got 345 grand. Knew nothing
about it. Knew nothing.
John, imagine Daniel Goodling got 345,000 euro extra. The man had never be seen again.
Absolutely. You can sing that one.
Oh, yeah. What was that someone said from the Hardy books? If it had a 5 in my account, I'd realise it. Mr. McCarthy, what are your thoughts on the GAA getting the rights back with the pages and the Instagram pages and all this spirit?
Well, obviously it's intellectual property, and they pay a lot of money to marketing companies and stuff to design these logos, and they have their right. That's their logo. But I mean, I don't know if I picked up Aaron right here. So, Aaron, I'm sorry if I get this wrong, but I would say the GA belongs to everybody that's involved in it, from the guy who goes out and marks the field to the guy who's director general. And we're an amateur organisation at the base of it, and the GA should be bloody well thankful for podcasts like this and many of the other podcasts that go on throughout the country for trying to promote the games, and those that are trying to bring new insights into the GA, whether that be through coaching or whether through be whatever else on their websites, on Twitter. It should be all about game promotion. So I understand why they're doing it from a legal point of view, from an intellectual property point of view. It's theirs to own. They've spent money on it. But look, the GA is an amateur organisation owned by so many people in Ireland who are invested heavily in it. And look, it's a wee bit petty and fickle, isn't it? The bigger things to be worrying about the rules of the game and about how we market the game, rather than running around with this.
Yeah, like I think the most frustrating thing, to be honest with you, was there was another page called GA Edits, and the page had about 27,000 followers. It was definitely probably the most followed GA Instagram, Facebook, Twitter page out there, and it got deleted, with no warning, no nothing, no communication. Like, I think if there was, open a bit of transparency between the GA and that page and ourselves, and they messaged us and said, look, listen, the GEA, like, we obviously own that, like, intellectual property, everything else, then obviously, yeah, you completely understand it, and then you make changes, and then, you keep a relationship there. But when pages are getting deleted for no reason, like this same person, Grode, who owns the account, hasn't got a single reason why from Instagram, from Facebook, as to why these pages have been deleted. All he does know is that there was some copyright. There was a copyright claim basically launched by the GEA. So yeah, like that's the most frustrating thing. Do you know that way? Like, a bit of transparency would obviously be nice. And as Kevin has said there, like, it is an amateur organisation after all, and it's not like any of us were. There are some other pages out there that are trying to scam people left, right, and centre. Like, that was never ourselves. Like, we were, doing it for the love of the game, love of the sport. It wasn't like we were trying to sell anything over the top or trying to use the GA to, get extortionate amount of money. So yeah, frustrating, but that's life.
And John, just one other small point on that, in terms of, if we look at something like Twitter, that a lot of these accounts had GA logos or part GA logos on them, and every week, the Sunday Game is quoting the likes of GA Statsman, who, one of our own colleagues on this podcast, quoting the likes of Conor McKenna, who previously was on this podcast, who bring us great stats about the game. Yes, they do mention where they get the stats from, but I mean, that's the national broadcaster who own the rights to the games. They're actually delving into what I would call people who are really interested in the GA enthusiasts, and taking their stats. Yes, they're giving them the credit for it, but I mean, as I say, it's a bit petty. There's plenty more that these boyos can be doing.
Yeah, totally agree there. Any thoughts on that, Dan, before we get into the actioner?
Yeah, I'd agree with the lads. I think we've been talking about this for the last number of years. The GA are losing sight of what the organisation's about. Same with the GA going now, and 2 games on Saturday not being shown on free tier. Like, it's they're talking out both sides of the mouth, really. They're trying to keep an amateur status, but every chance they can get as a corporation, I call them, they want to make money. And suppose this is another sign of them just trying to control and find the corporate side of it, but yet expecting players to do everything on an amateur basis and play like professionals. I don't know, and I suppose then realistically, the people running these sites are generally massive J fans and probably huge volunteers as well, their own clubs and stuff. And look, it's talking out both sides of your mouth for me anyway, to be honest. It's not what the J is about. It's losing, and it has been for years. We know that it loses sight every so often of what the J is actually supposed to be about.
Yeah, well said, lads. Hopefully there can be a bit of clarification over that, as Aaron said. Now, the coming weeks, suppose we crack into the actual lads, bit of housekeeping to take care of before we get the ball rolling. The GA Dotty football team of the week this week was Michael Martin in between the sticks, a full back line of Sam Callanan, Sean Fitzgerald, and Michael McKernan, Kevin. Half back line of Paddy Durkin, Rory Maguire, and Conor McCarthy, and then a midfield of Gerard O'Connor, Con Kilpatrick, and then a half forward line of Brian O'Driscoll, Ben McCormick, and Jack McCarran, and then a full forward line of Gemma Porta, Stephen Sherlock, and Derek Canavan. And then the Total Cup team of the week was Mr. Niall Kane in between the sticks. Full back line of Adam O'Neill, Anthony Doherty, and Donald Keoghan. Half back line of Danny McGill, Caleb Doherty, and Derek McAleese. And then midfield of Jack Flynn and Pat Haverin. And then a half forward line of Liam Kerr, Matthew Costello, and Adam Loughran. And then a full forward line of Jordan Maris, Mark Barry, and Aaron Lynch. And then the GA.E Footballer Week nominees are Derek Canavan, Jeremy O'Connor, and Brian O'Driscoll. General thoughts on all of that, Mr. Coolin?
Yeah, look, I suppose these games are so tight and so close. It's very hard to like. There's no one really standing out in the games. They're just such wars of attritions. They're dog fights. It's like I think it was Ben McCormick centre forward. He got injured today early enough in the second half, didn't he? Yeah. It's just like, I don't know, we always talk about these teams of the week. I don't know how much weight you can put in them, really. They're just a nice another little novel kind of Corkers thing to generate discussion, really. Was Matty Taylor on it, out of curiosity?
He wasn't. No, he wasn't. No.
Man of the match in the Cork match, the best player on the pitch, and not on it. Like, that's, they were kind of.
Yeah, it's getting ridiculous as the weeks go on. Yeah,
but no Conor Meyler, was there?
Bear with me, Kevin. No Conor Meyler. No.
Yet he got man of the match. He got man of the match in the other game, and Derek Canavan didn't, and yet he's on it.
Yes. Yeah. So. Oh, look at Kevin. I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Genuinely, I would say this weekend just gone, and the draw, I suppose, it's taken us probably 50 or 60 games to get there, but the kind of championship is just about to start now, really. And look, individual accolades now, we'll see the cream come to the top again, like we always do every year for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
Who would be your player of the week for that week, Mr. Prendergast?
Yeah, I mean, it's like a tough one, really. Like, I suppose you probably have to look at maybe Derek Canavan again. Like, he's really impressive, obviously, for Tyrone. Like, scored 5 points in the end. Really, really good performance. Like, I think Matty Taylor, like Daniel said before, was outstanding for Cork. I think Rory Canavan had a very good game for Tyrone as well. He didn't get in the team of the week. Was fairly unlucky. Who actually won it in the end?
It'll be announced tomorrow, but I'd say Derek Canavan will get it, will he? Yeah. Ben McCormick probably not a million miles away as well. Paddy Durkin had a very good game for Mayo as well, in fairness. 3 points. Very, very good performance. And I think he's probably one of the most underrated players to play for Mayo, to be honest, in the last 10 years or so. Like, when you think of the amount of players that they produce, the amount of names that have come through Mayo, the likes of Lee Keegan, Colin Boyle, Keith Higgins, these defenders, like Paddy Durkin's a player who probably doesn't get the credit he deserves. So, yeah, I'd probably go with Paddy Durkin as player of the week, I think. Paddy Durkin, player of the week. Oh, that'd be your own player of the week, not that none of them 3 lads get for you, no.
Say that again, sorry.
That'd be your player of the week. None of them 3 lads get it for you, no.
I'd go with Paddy Durkin as player of the week. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Just the nominations are Derek Canavan, Jeremy O'Connor, and Brian O'Driscoll. But yeah, that'd be your thoughts too. Yeah. I
probably would have went with Paddy Durkin personally. Yeah, but
okay. Yeah. Perfect. Good stuff. I think do we still have you there, Kevin?
Liam Kerr as well, I suppose, getting through too.
I think Kevin's just in a washing machine. I think
that's a tally to get.
Yeah. Kevin, you're coming in hot and heavy there, Kevin. You can't really hear us. I'm thinking.
Oh, I can hear you all right. I can hear you, John. It's just when you talk, I switch off.
Yeah. As usual. Right, before we kill each other, we crack into the action. Where we go there? Saturday, in the All Ireland Senior Football Championship preliminary quarter-final in Ballybuffet. It was Tyrone 118, Donegal 13 points. Mr. McCarthy, your thoughts on this one?
Said last week that Tyrone are a dangerous animal when people write them off. I did, and I have said, and I will continue to say they're a dysfunctional team. They pulled out the win. It was the first one at time in a while they'd won in Ballybuffet in the championship. And I did tip them just to pip it and upset people. I now think they go into the quarterfinal stage, which we'll come to talk about later, on a high, but realistically, it's when Tyrone, when everybody writes them off, that they put out these performances. Look, this game is really easily summed up. When you start the way they did yesterday, Donegal were never going to catch them. That's Tyrone. That's what Tyrone want. They want to get ahead of you very, very quickly at the start, get an early goal, first score of the game. I think it was 1-3 to 0-1 at one stage early on in the game. And then invite you into that system that they play, turn you over and hit you on the break. They were never behind from that period of time in the game. In fact, listening to the game on RT Radio 1 with Conleth Gilligan on co-commentary with Darren Maloney, Donegal never really even looked to threaten, to want to win the game. From another perspective, I said last week that my man the match was owned by Gallagher because he connects back to front. He's a good man marker, but he's really vital to Donegal's game plan and, connecting that way to give it through to the shooters once they've turned over the ball. And obviously, Tyrone got their tactics right, putting Conor Meyer in one-on-one. There's no doubts that Meyer went through a pan of work, but realistically, to be named man of the match, I'm not sure about. I'll come back to that in a second. And you look at the way that Donegal invited, Tyrone onto them. Michael McKiernan got 2 points in the first half alone. In fact, in the first 25 minutes. Where was his man? He's playing traditionally corner back. Donegal were in back behind the ball. Great to see Darren McCurry back. Some of his frees were excellent as well. Obviously he had a rest a week before. What was also really interesting was that Kennedy and Kirkpatrick both had very, very good games. Back in the middle of the park, back to their form that they were, in 2021, which will be a big boost for them. The other big issue about this game is, I suppose, the scoreline masquerades the fact of what was or what could have been an annihilation. Tyrone had maybe 5-6 goal chances that they didn't take during the course of the 70 minutes. They opened up Donegal on several occasions. As somebody rightly put at the top of the show about Rory Canavan, I think was Aaron, he could have hit 1-5, 1-6, 1-7 on a different day with better shot selection by himself or by, getting 1 or 2 passes at one time from his own brother, who was a bit of a greedy git and wouldn't give him the ball. So, Brian Kennedy also had a goal chance that maybe on another day would take a different option. So, Tyrone controlled the game from start to finish. They deserved to win. A lot of players stood up for them. Miller, McKiernan, the 2 Canavans, Darren McCurry coming back in, Conor Patrick, Brian Kennedy. They were able to wrap Frank Burns from the bench as well, a really experienced player. So Matty Donnelly kicked a couple. Good positive signs from them. A good win, after what had happened the week before in Westmeath. They come up, there was a bit of pressure on them, and they delivered from start to finish. On the flip side of that, you look at Donegal. And the best thing for Donegal is that this FUCK season is over for them. Because this has been an absolute nightmare shit show. It has been absolutely and utterly baffling what went on from start to finish, from last November, who was going to become the new manager. At one stage they were looking at a guy from Boca Juniors taking over. That's how bad it was,
Team Galvin.
There was new people coming out of the. If they had offered 345,000 rand, Tuberty would have took the job. There was all sorts of rumours about that. New names in the paper every week. They delayed so long over the selection. They eventually got a management team in place. That's fine. Shortly afterwards, we get controversy. Started the season so well, actually, by beating Kerry. Then we get the controversy all around, Carl Lacey and the academy and all them guys, and that has a knock-on effect. Then obviously Paddy Carr, the players don't want him after the league. Aidan O'Rourke and Paddy Bradley and Furness were thrown in at the deep end to what was, the Titanic submarine, if you know what I mean. It was a sinking ship at that stage. And, yes, they got a morale boost and win over obviously they went over Clare, but then morale booster over Monaghan that nobody really seen coming. And then they went into this game. And look, Oisin Gallen showed flashes of real brilliance this year. Jason McGee's a very good player. Owen Bond's a very good player. Can they get back McHugh maybe for next season? They're going to have to go after a new management team. There's no doubts about that. It's now that they should be doing their due diligence as an executive committee and looking at this out. It's now that you should be getting Carl Lacey back involved. But this season, from start to finish, has been a shit show for Donegal. And I suppose Tyrone, lots of positive to take from this game, but the one is that they didn't play against what I would call an overly rounded team, a team that has been thrown together, a team that has been going from pillar to post all year. So great signs for Tyrone going into Croke Park. And look, nobody can doubt them against this Kerry team. We'll come to talk about that in a second. But on the other hand, for Donegal, it's just been so dire and a whimper to end the season.
You'd be that negative on that kind of Tyrone game, heavy? Like, do you think it was that bad of a performance with Tyrone? Sorry, Donegal.
Yeah, well, look, when Donegal's playing Tyrone, you expect a tight-knit affair. Forget about the end scoreline. What I'm saying to you is, listen to the game. Tyrone had at least 5 to 6 goal chances. And didn't capitalise on them at different times through maybe players' greediness or players, wanting to turn over the scoreboard by taking a point instead of a goal, or maybe Brian Candy taking the wrong option on at least one occasion. So, look, it could have ended up 6 or 7 goals. It could have. And maybe from a Donegal perspective, that wouldn't have been a bad issue. But as I say, bright shoots for Tyrone, something positive to take in with them. But they've got to caveat that this is a horrendous Donegal team at the minute, really, in terms of their setup and the way they're applying themselves compared to what they've got in terms of their natural skill and ability.
Obviously, news in recent days as well. Kevin Aidan O'Rourke has stepped aside. Well, it's going to be coming. So, what's your thoughts on that, I suppose?
Yeah, well, as I said before, I've worked with Aidan in the past. I have a lot of time and respect for him. He's a sports professional at Queen's in Belfast, where he heads up, elite athletes for, their 5 academies: hockey, GA, rugby, football, and I forget what the last one is. But he's dealing every day with sports professionals. He knows what he's about in terms of training, in terms of S&C, in terms of psychology of sport and all that. But look, with all due respect, I don't think Aidan is a manager. He's more of a coach and number 2, if you get me. As I say, that's when he went in as. He was thrown in at the deep end. And I think it was inevitable when he had associated himself with Paddy Carr and the players didn't want Paddy Carr. Mm-hmm. The county board came to him as a stopgap because they couldn't get anybody else, with all due respect. And I think it was inevitable he was going to step away from it. It's now what Donegal do now going forward. It's in these next 3 months what they can do. Will they go for Jim McGuinness? Will they go for a big man, like a big name like Jim Galvin, as I said before? Will they try and entice Malachi O'Rourke across the border and from Derry into not that border, but the county border, from Derry into Donegal? So they have a lot of work to do, but there's no doubts that Lacey and Boys the Gad have put in good foundations underage. So there's talent to work with, but they just need to get the main appointment right now.
What about Daniel O'Donnell, Kev?
No, definitely not. No, be too many women at the game for my liking.
Beautiful stuff. Well, so look, Heavy, as usual, we'll move on to action that took place in Glennis O'Connor Park in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship preliminary quarter-final. It was Monaghan 111, Kildare 13 points. Monaghan just at the death, Mr. Goulding.
Yeah, look, in fairness to Vinnie Corey, he's getting, and Monaghan always do this for their, we slag the village in Ballincollig. There's about 60,000 people living there. They play senior football at home in our championship. Like what Monaghan turn out for the size of them and the amount of clubs they have is remarkable. and they've such a small pool of players. They've lots of fellas that if they were in any other county, they'd be retired 3 or 4 years ago, and they're just keep going at it. Vinnie Corey himself was a man that played well into his sell-by date and still getting the best out of themselves. And look, going into injury time, they were down a point. Carl O'Connell nearly breaks his neck diving on the ball, and McCarthy kicks the winner again. I don't know where McCarthy plays either, by the way. Is he playing as a wing forward? Is he playing as a wing back? Is he playing as a midfielder? I don't know, but he's I suppose he's very effective footballer. Again, 1-2 again yesterday. Colin McCarron clipped in with a couple of crazy scores, and I suppose, look, this is the age-old story with Kildare as well. Probably the nearly men always just never get over the line in these kind of games, and I suppose Monaghan have proven in the past that they can eke out these kind of games at teams that are the same level as them, and they did so again yesterday. Will Monaghan rattle Armagh? Who knows? To be honest with you, you just don't know at this stage. Anything could happen, but again, it's another big game to look forward to, and Armagh going as big favourites, and we'll have to see how they deal with that then.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose, Aaron, your thoughts on the Kildare end of things?
Yeah, well, like, I mean, it's kind of typical Kildare, really. Like, they done so much great work in the first half. Ben McCormack was in phenomenal form. Like, I think as soon as he went off, looked like he picked up a bit of a niggle. Kildare just struggled, really, and 4 points in the second half. Like, that's not going to win you a game of Gaelic football, especially at this stage of the championship. And it was a strange game, really, because I don't think Monaghan were overly brilliant themselves. I thought they were quite sloppy on the ball. They were giving the ball away, and they couldn't get a lot of their forwards really into the game. Like, Jack McCarron was missing a few chances here and there. He wasn't showing the same type of form as last week. And Monaghan looked like they were there for the taking, and Kildare had numerous chances. Like, Derek Kirwan hit the bar with an opportunity. A couple of other half chances where they end up trying to go for a goal rather than going for a point. And their decision making was just wrong, I think, in the final third. And in the end, it came back to bite them. And I know Glenn Ryan wasn't too happy with the referee at the full-time whistle and everything else, and that's fair enough. But to be fair, I think the ref was quite poor on both sides.
He was shocking. Yeah,
he was very poor on both sides. Like, and look, obviously, when you lose a game, you're going to be more angry. Like, for Monaghan, they don't care at all about how that referee performed now because they're through. It doesn't matter. But yeah, no, like for Kildare, like it was like against Mayo this time last year. Like, Mayo were there for the taking that day. And it's like they try everything without scoring, do you know that way? And the same against Dublin in the Leinster Championship as well. Like, you feel like a bit like Cork, maybe they're on the cusp of something, but they just need to get over the line, and you feel like they need to get a few big wins over the line. But like, they do still have a young enough team, and sure, look, I'm sure they'll be back next year. But on a more positive note, no more games in Croke Park for Kildare, and positive.
Beautifully summed up, Mr. Prendergast. And then we'll move on. Oh, Gooding will love this. All-Ireland Senior Football Championship Preliminary Quarter-Final in Páirc Uí Chaoimh. It was Cork 114, Roscommon 16 points, Mr. Gooding.
Yeah, great game for the purists. No, I'll be honest, lads. First half of that game was as bad spectacle as you'll ever see. And next thing off the sides with about 5 minutes left in the half. It was Donny Smith should have got a black card, and Cork woke up the crowd with nuts. Cork decided to push up on the kick out, and the minute they went up on the kick out, the game totally changed. They squeezed the life out of Roscommon. Roscommon, very, like in the first half, very methodical, very good to get back and defend, turned over Cork numerous times, and then I would say methodically attacked as well. Didn't attack with pace, but just were so patient on the ball, picked off their scores. The minute Cork pushed up on them, Cork turned over their kick out, and Cork were away. Then their running game came into play, and they had Roscommon under all sorts of pressure. Probably could have got 2 or 3 goals as well. And then with about 10 minutes left, Cork up 5 points, coasting, decide, right, we're going to protect the lead, and nearly got themselves into trouble that they were in the first half again. Didn't push up in the kick out, gave Roscommon the kick out, and Roscommon started doing the same thing, kind of methodically picking them apart again. So look, Cork have coming off a long way in a very short period of time. Like, I was at the Clare game in Ennis, and if you told me we'd be in All-Ireland quarter-final now, I'd have laughed. I'd have said not a hope. Could not see it happening. I think they have bought into what Kevin Walsh has tried to instill in them and the setup. I think they probably understand what he was trying to do now as well. I'd say what happened in the Clare game, I don't think they fully knew what they were about, and I think it's starting to click now the last couple of games. And I suppose the big difference now is when Cork turn over the ball, which they're pretty good at doing. They're well set up defensively. They break at a rate of knots, and they break in 3s and 4s, and they nearly always at least get a shot off, which is something we're not used to with the last couple of years. So yeah, very positive. And as I said at the intro, no heroes there, no egos, all just hard lads working for each other. And you could see it in the pitch after the celebrations, and even the crowd staying on. I haven't been at a Cork game in 10 years, but the crowd has clapped them off the pitch. So yeah, things are positive at the moment. And look, they'll go into that Derry game, massive underdogs again. I was looking 3-1, and they'll have a right go off that. Now, will the 4 weeks catch up with them? They might do, but to some turnaround from, say, that day in Ennis when they were beaten by a point in the last play of the game. So, look, all positive at the moment, and I suppose it's great as well. A couple of Kerry men in my club and a couple of Kerry friends, and they are feeling it this week, and it's brilliant. They are worried, and it's not often you see them worried, but they
brilliant.
One of my friends said, I don't care if we win the All-Ireland this year, we just can't lose to Tyrone. And when you see them like that, yeah. It's like Christmas Day.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Dan. Brilliant stuff. The good times are back. Said, how important is Mr. Kevin Walsh, Dan?
Do you know what, Cork, with the last 5 to 6 years, they just didn't know what they were about. They had no identity. They had nothing to believe in, really, and you could see it in their performances that if they came up against a Division 1 team and it wasn't going their way, the towel was thrown in. They were defensively left one-on-one, isolated all the time. That's not happening anymore. Similar as when Kevin had Galway. Look, he'd him set up very well defensively. And I suppose, as I said, what Cork have done now as well, now they've got that defensive structure, but now they're breaking at pace and they're creating chances, which is something they hadn't been doing with the last couple of years. Now it'll be interesting to see will Brian Hurley get back the next day. Like, you could see the difference in Stephen Sherlock. He's like, when he comes on, there's 20 minutes of magic in him, but I don't know, is he built for the full 70? He's more of a finisher, and like you definitely, by starting him, you definitely lose probably a huge impact off the bench. So look, if Brian Hurley can make it back the next day, I think it'll be a huge plus. Either starting with Sherlock coming on or vice versa. But no, I suppose where Cork will really get tested now the next day is, especially with Walsh's kind of defensive structure, how well do they know it? Because Derry will ask questions. I suppose Derry are the one team, I suppose, that defensively are set up for Cork, but also they're the only team that really go toe-to-toe and put 15 up on top of you as well when you're set up defensively. So it'll be interesting to see how well Cork know their game plan and how they actually cope with a team that we go toe-to-toe with them, with 15, 30 fellas inside their own 45. And we'll see then, I suppose, how well Cork can stick to their men and pass men on to each other and protect the D. It'll be a different challenge to Roscommon, who Roscommon played outside him for the majority of the game and just waited for a shot from the outside, whereas I think Derry are going to ask a lot of questions. They're going to probe, and it'll be a different challenge for Cork now next day.
What players are impressing you mostly for this Cork resurgent, I suppose, Dan?
Look, like Ian Maguire now is probably he's I would say he's an unsung hero, because he's actually a leader that has endured probably 7 or 8 years of absolute depression. Like, when he came into the setup, Cork were on the way down. Every week in, week out, he was the one fella driving it on. And look, I suppose it's great for the likes of him and Brian Hurley, who've stuck it out. You know, they've had bad years and they're getting their rewards now. And look, even listening to them in the media, they talk about the group and the honesty of the group. And look, it's nearly giving them a new lease of life. my club man, Colin O'Callaghan, his Maguire's partner, is putting in a huge year. Bear of a man, gets through a huge amount of work. Matty Taylor, obviously, as we mentioned, has had another great year. This is his second great year. Brian O'Driscoll came back into the fold. He was there in my time. Was probably, I would say, a bit like a lot of that Cork team when, say, the Counties and the Alan Corks were probably thrown into the deep end too quickly and probably weren't mature enough about it. But since he's come back into the fold, he's like a different animal altogether. Exceptionally fit, is a good footballer, is carrying out what he's supposed to, and the role he's supposed to do. And then I suppose, look, up front then you've Sherlock and Hurley. I don't know, I'd like to see both of them playing together even again. I think they're both very dangerous, and I suppose it is a ploy with Cork at the moment. You can see it, that they want one of the two of them coming off the bench to finish the game, but I don't think they'll get the luxury of playing them both together this year. But look, in the years to come, if we get a couple of forwards back and young Corbett steps up, you might have an opportunity where you've more lads, I suppose, able to contribute regularly as a scoring forward. That's the one thing we're probably missing. We've only probably one or two natural scoring forwards, and the rest of the lads are, I suppose, full of running and gusto, but they don't have the class of the two lads inside. So, look, good times. John Cleary won't be letting lads get carried away either, and neither will Kevin Walsh. I don't think this will be a flash in the pan for Cork. I think that level of performance will be expected now. And you'll be hoping that they won't be struggling, and they'll be competing in Division 2 next year. Won't be struggling there.
So was last thing on it, Dan, how proud and happy does it make you feel to finally get Cork back on the map?
Look, it's a bit of relief, to be fair. It's relief for the county and the football people in the county, because it's been a bad few years, and I suppose it's no coincidence. Cleary could have got that job when Coonahan left in 2013. He was probably the man for it, and he didn't get it. And there's no denying now the setup he's put in place has given structure to a good group of players, and no different to what we're seeing in Donegal. If the setup isn't 100%, then the players won't buy in. And I suppose with the really, really top teams, everyone is 110% in. And I suppose Cork seem to have that now. They believe what they're about. And look, it's great to see at the moment. And then I suppose, look, there's an onus on that management team and the players now to keep that going. They have a bit of momentum. They have an expectation now that they have to perform every day, which wasn't there over the last number of years. So look, it's up to that group now, but there's no denying it. There is plenty of players in Cork. And I suppose, look, you'd hope now that the last couple of performances and the praise they're getting from that can act as motivation to drive things on, for obviously the next day, which is the easy thing to get up for, but it'll be for the coming seasons now, where you try and get back into Division 1. That's the key now for this team going forward, because they have the players, but playing themselves week in, week out will be the next challenge for that Cork team.
Well summed up, Dan, and it is good to see the red and white back in the big stuff. And then we'll move on to yesterday's action in Pearse Stadium. It was Mayo 110, Galway 12 points. Out go Galway out of the championship. Mayo will be absolutely live with themselves. Kevy, not a game that we expected, not a game for the ages, but Mayo will not give one SHIT. You were on mute, buddy.
People have probably said it's the best thing for me to be on mute. John, not a classic at all. Not one for the ages, but I'm going to tell you this. We often give maybe RTE a bit of flack about the Sunday game and what it's coming up to now. Let me tell you that. Listen to this yesterday on RTE Radio 1 with Porrick Lodge on commentary and Alan Kearns on one side, John Casey on the other. It was a brilliant listen to. If anybody wants to go back and listen, the two boys were excellent summarisers. The atmosphere just seemed really, really good down in Salt Hill.
Do you think Lodge should get the big position? Do you think Porrick Lodge can? I think he's quality.
I suppose that's up to the RTE head of sport and director general. Oh, right. Oh, no. Up to the RT head of sport. But no, I mean, he was excellent yesterday. I heard him with Davy Fitz as well on Saturday down in Semple Stadium doing the hurling, the second hurling game, the Galway tip game. So again, he was excellent on that. But really enjoyed the two lads' insight into the game as well. When you're not watching the game on TV, it's important that you pick up what insights to get. And I mean, I remember somebody wrote into the paper one time. I was on the bench for Antrim against Donegal. I'd injured my leg a few weeks before, and somebody said I was listening to my earphones. I was actually listening to the game on the radio, because probably the most insightful two people were the guys summing up the match on the radio to try and find out what they were thinking as well. If you understand what I mean. So sometimes people just describe it so well and give you a different insight and perspective. And them two lads deserve a lot of credit for the way they summed this game up yesterday. Again, Salt Hill-esque, you always get that big win factor coming in. That was a big issue yesterday, obviously. And I suppose when I thought about this game last night, and when I actually had the chance to watch it, go back to what we said earlier on about Mayo in the season and their forwards and the abundance of talent they have up there and the plethora of people that they can bring on from the bench. And let's give Kevin McStay credit. And you can see his passion after the game yesterday as well. Yes, it's a local derby. Yes, he was under pressure. But the changes he made and his management team made were absolutely and utterly key to them winning that game, the way that they ran the bench. And if you look in the first half, despite Galway having the win, Mayo forward line missed 3 or 4 serious chances against that win that they worked so hard to get. They could have seen them get in at half time, maybe a point or two closer to Galway. Again, I said last week in the programme, and I think we talked at length about it last week about Shane Walsh. If he didn't have a big game, it was going to be very difficult to see Galway winning. Peter Cook was another one who needed a big game from. Damien Comer. It looked as if him and Kelly were possibly not fit. They were thrown in there anyway. It's a huge disappointment for Galway to lose to Mayo at any time. But after the year they've come off from, having lost them already in the league final, losing at home to them in the championship down at Salt Hill, it's not going to be easy for them. But let's be honest, they lost this game. I suppose they lost this game for me in different areas of the game. Up front, they weren't clinical enough. Walsh missed again a number of frees that we expect them to score. We spoke about that last week. Again, they didn't get the runners through that they possibly needed in the second half. Yes, give them credit. They showed some character when Mayo started to pull away from them. The goal was an important, obviously, score in the game at the time that it came, the momentum that it gave Mayo. But I come back not to focus on Galway too much and how maybe they've probably regressed since the championship last year, and some of their individual players have maybe not regressed, but they're just maybe mentally tired. Mayo, the way they ran the bench, the character they showed, I think Aaron rightly pointed out earlier, a veteran like Durkin leading from the front, Aidan O'Shea for the time that he was on, again leading, the Kevin McLaughlin, these guys, all of these older guys trying to step up, and then the young complement coming in. Young James Carr's been really good this year, and of course we get the dream story of Dermot O'Connor. In terms of where he's come from over the last, Killian O'Connor and where he's been over the last couple of months, coming back into the scene. So, for me, it's all about Mayo's second half performances, but also the changes that Kevin McStay made. And look, they'll be relishing getting against Dublin. They'll not fear Dublin. Don't you worry about that. They'll be on a high after yesterday. And again, I'll say this, I am really impressed at 90% of this year with that potent forward line that they had. Tommy Conroy, again, maybe, you see the one he hand passed over the bar? Maybe 18 months ago, Tommy would have maybe took a wee, head stagger there and tried to knock that into the net, blast that into the goal. They just showed such maturity yesterday in so many ways, the management team and the guys that come on. And they've got a full squad now. And that's really important for Mayo. A full squad. And a lot of them guys now, coming out of Salt Hill yesterday, they'll be struggling to make the starting 15 next day out. When it's doesn't matter what your name is in Mayo at the minute. A lot of young lads coming through there. McStay's giving everybody their opportunity, and he's been bloody well ruthless about it. And it's a fantastic victory for them. But, you get over Galway and all of a sudden you're hit with a clubber lang right between the eyes in Dublin next week in Croke Park. No rest for the wicked.
Oh, Mayo against Dublin. We cannot wait for it. Brilliant stuff, Kevy, as usual. And then, here we go. Moving on to Total Cup semi-final action in Park on Crokeek. It was down 8-16, Laois 2-12. Mr. Prendergast, this was not a game of soccer we were watching, was it?
I don't think so, no. But I mean, Down scored 4 goals after 20 minutes. It was like Brazil versus Germany in the 2014 World Cup all over again. The goals are just flying in left, right, and centre. But yeah, no, fair play to Down. Like an extraordinary performance. Like I was chatting to Matthew yesterday, and I don't know. I think that might be the most amount of goals from a senior inter-county team in Gaelic football history from one team, which is absolutely mental. And do you know, like I think, like it's hard to know. Like I've seen a few people say like there should be 3 tiers maybe instead of 2. When you actually look at the Tailteann Cup, there has actually been a lot of one-sided games. Like Down, obviously, beating Laois is one of them. You think Meath, the result they put up against Wexford, some of the games through the group stages. Like there is an argument maybe that 6 or 7 teams should go into maybe a 3rd tier. Not saying Laois deserve to be in that. I think Laois just really underperformed. Like they were just completely wide open defensively, and Down just I think caught them cold. I don't think Laois were expecting Down to bring the type of energy that they did. But Liam Kerr, hat-trick, 3 goals. Oran Murdoch, very good performance from him. Pat Havern. Down have a lot of very good players, and Conor Laverty's definitely got a big kick out of these Down lads. And yeah, they I know they lost to Meath a couple of weeks ago, but they'd 17 wides that day. So look, I think they'll be going in as favourites for the Tailteann Cup final.
It's funny when Laois scored the goals, Mr. Lafferty looked pissed off. God, it's high standards. We move on to the other game in Croke Park yesterday. It was Meath 2-16, Antrim 2-14. Mr. McCarthy, it's heartbreak central.
Yeah, just before that, when we're talking about RTE, they kept on flashing over from Salt Hill to Croke Park, and Martin McHugh was on co-commentary, and all he would say was, "Don't know how to score goals. No shit, Sherlock. It's 4-3 to 1-1, No, flipping back to the Antrim game. Yeah, hugely disappointing for Antrim. Look, I did tip Down in Meath last week. I thought Meath physically would have been too strong for Antrim. Again, listening in on RT Radio 1, Denise Masterson was excellent in this and summing it up. Antrim went toe-to-toe in the first half. Got a good enough start in terms of you want to stay close that opening 30 minutes. Hope 3rd quarter you can maybe put away and make Meath come back at you. We all know Meath have that fight spirit over the years, but realistically, that 3rd quarter of the game straight after halftime, Antrim don't score for 20 minutes in the second half. That's just, you can't go inside Croke Park and do that. No team can do that. And that was their downfall ultimately. All due credit to them, last 15 minutes of the game, they came back into the game and they went at Meath. And indeed, if truth be told, the Meath goalkeeper hits a horrendous kick out. Adam Loughran, a guy who spoke about with Aaron at the start of the year, has really come on leaps and bounds. He's out playing centre half forward now. He's showing lots of maturity. Just one of them things. He doesn't pick the right option when he's, the game's in the balance, a point game. He's maybe burned down in goal. He just gets dispossessed at a poor time. And in fairness, every time Antrim got within a point of Meath come up with big scores. I mean, one of them, Jordan Morris, near the end, was an outrageously good score. Just knocked the stuffing out of Antrim. We're speaking off air with Daniel about this as well, just from a Meath perspective. Their forwards, there doesn't seem to be a great synergy between them. In fact, it looks like a triangle of rivalries between 3 particular people who just want to hog the ball. And Daniel's talking about this dynamic in Cork of, everybody's buying in and everybody's playing as a team. By the looks of it, there's no egos there. Certainly, I would fear in the Meath forward line, there's at least 3 egos, maybe 4. So that was quite evident at times yesterday when there's some of the shot selection was just diabolical. And if they go in that way against Down, Aaron's articulated already, Down maybe the last day out, a lot of poor shooting, a lot of bad option taken. This Down team have an incredibly potent forward line, usually. Young Liam Kerr, I've seen him since he was young at Burn. Guy has an electric pace. There's probably not a quicker guy in the GA than this kid. Young Murdoch's really stood up this year and come through. Pat Haver has had another really, really solid year. So it's an interesting Taunton Cup final. It's interesting from 2 or 3 perspectives, the game itself on the merit of the two teams, the history of these two counties, but also the fact that Conor Lavery and Colm O'Rourke have really bought into this. And so has both sets of supporters. There seemed to be a decent atmosphere at this game yesterday in Croke Park. So, look, really looking forward to that game. And I just think that Down maybe will have learnt their lesson from the last out against Meath, and Meath aren't really that cohesive a unit that we think they are, and maybe Down are.
Overall, happy with Antrim's season, Kevy?
Yeah, I said to Aaron at the start of the year, good thing would be staying. The bottom line was staying in Division 3, and if we were lucky, making a Tailteann Cup semi-final. And we did that. And look, it was Andy McEntee's first year. He's come in, he's blooded a lot of guys. I feared for him at the start of the year. I have no problem in saying that. But the job he's done has been an excellent job. For marking him out of 10, it's 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. He's got a lot of new guys then. I've got a year under him that can go and he can go work with next year and maybe see if he can get to the top echelons of Division 3. I know that's going to be hard with that division again next year. But look, credit where it's due and, decent season overall.
There we go. And we will move on to big stuff this weekend, lads. All-Ireland Senior Football Championship time. The draw was made this morning, lads, and we have 4 humdingers coming up this weekend on Saturday in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship quarter-final. You have Armagh against Monaghan in Croke Park at 6 p.m. And, of course, game will be live on GA Go. Mr. Cooling, what are we thinking?
Rian O'Neill's back for this, is he?
I would be thinking so.
Yeah. But that'll swing it. I think that'll swing it in Armagh's favour. I think Armagh enjoy Croke Park as well. I think they're probably a bit more athletic and a bit more suited than Monaghan are. No doubt it'll be a tight affair, but I'd give it to Armagh. I think after a slow start to the season, they're coming good. I think they probably took a lot of confidence from the Ulster final, even I know they didn't win it, but they went toe-to-toe with Derry. They're starting to get back a bit of the swagger that they had last year, and they'll take huge confidence for beating Galway as well. Look, I think they'll have enough to go over the line there.
Yeah, perfect. And then we'll move on to Kevy, big one here. Kerry against Tyrone, Croke Park. Game will be live on GA Go this Saturday. Kevy, this game needs little or no introduction.
No, little or no introduction. 2 teams that have been extremely schizophrenic this year. I'm going to put my head in the line here and say I think Tyrone can win this game. I think they will win the game. I think Kerry at the minute are... and I hope I'm proved wrong, as people know I'm the biggest Kerry fan in the world, but they're very much a one-trick pony at the minute. That's not to say Sean O'Shea, of course, or Killian Spillane or Paudie Clifford aren't wonderful footballers in their own right. They are, but they're not performing as a team at the minute. And it's really David Clifford's genius and his potence in front of the goal that is getting them through games. They're also, we talked so much last year about them defensively as a group and as a team. And this year they've been defensively quite poor. So, I mean, they have there's no doubts they've regressed as a team from last year. No doubts about it whatsoever. But this is Kerry when they get inside Croke Park. This is when their championship starts. So, Kerry are going to need big games from them inside forwards that talked about the Spillanes if he starts, but certainly from Paudie Clifford with his ability, certainly from Sean O'Shea. And my issue is that I think Tyrone have the defenders man on man to hold a lot of these guys. Now, the big issue is going to revolve around how Tyrone tackle David Clifford. And traditionally what Tyrone do is, of course, play that zonal defence. We've seen it with Tommy Walsh and Kieran Donaghy. We've seen it at the time that the Gooch was about. They'll double up. They'll drop the 2 wing half forwards back in. Mayo will come in there. He'll be a busy wee bee as he typically is. He'll connect back the front. And then we look up front at Tyrone and we see 3 complete potent individuals at the minute in the two Canavans and McCurry. And then you add into that, the possibility of what happens in around the middle with Con and Con Kirkpatrick and Brian Canavan. And the more I think about this game, and I will, think about it a lot more this week in terms of, the tactics that will be played, I just think Tyrone have everything in their locker to contain Kerry. I really do. And the one thing about Kerry is Kerry don't have a mental block with any team in Ireland over the past 20 years than they do with Tyrone, not even Dublin. Mm-hmm. They do with Tyrone. They always up their game and play against Dublin because that's obviously naturally their biggest rivals alongside Cork, right? But Tyrone, they've always sort of dismissed in years gone by, and Tyrone have really knocked them starters twice or three times over the past number of years. And I have no doubts they can do it again this week. And
they're missing David Moore and Big John Joe.
Yeah, they're absolutely, and
they're struggling midfield, and with Kennedy and Kilpatrick now, it'll be interesting to see. Like they could put them under serious pressure and on the back foot from that platform.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I mean, we got to look around the players in Kerry where, Tony Brosnan's a guy I seen a couple of years ago. Again, isn't hitting the heights that I thought he would. And at the back, obviously, they've got players there like Gavin White, very, very talented individual, but, generally are as tight as they were. So I do think Kerry have regressed, and I do think, look, Tyrone are a very dangerous animal right now, and look, don't underestimate the genius of these two Canavans. They are super players. The synergy between the two of them, they're potent like their father. They smell blood, they'll kill you. And the same as McCurry. And I don't really know if the Kerry defence can cope with them. I really don't. On the flip side of that, I suppose it comes down to how you deal with Clifford, and I think that Tyrone have enough at the back. I really do. Now, who goes one-on-one with him? That will be a big call. Will it be Paddy Hampshire? Will it go with Ronnie McNamee? I don't know which way they'll play it. I do think probably when you look at it, McKiernan will pick up Spillane if he plays, or if he doesn't, he'll pick up Paddy Clifford. So that'll leave McNamee and Hampshire around the full forward line there to see who else picks up who else. But that's going to be, I suppose that's the one worry for Tyrone is Clifford and how they deal with it. Kerry have got all sorts of worries for that Tyrone forward line, in my opinion. They really have. And that's before we even talk about Manny Donnelly. That's before we talk about the influence Conor Mader can have in the game. So I'm putting my neck on the line on a Monday night before it, and I'm saying I think Tyrone can cause an upset here and dethrone Kerry.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too far away with that opinion, Kevin. Make no doubt about it. And then we'll move on to Sunday's action in the All-Ireland Senior Football Championship quarterfinals. It's Dublin against Mayo, Croke Park, 4 p.m. Game be live on RTD. Mr. Prendergast, here we go.
Yeah, this is what it's all about. I mean, this is what you pay the money for. This is what you pay the GA Go subscription or your dodgy boxes or whatever is going on. You know what I mean? This is what you pay for, like when you get your ticket and go to the game and everything else. No, look, I'm really looking forward to it. Like I think it's important for Dublin. Like I think it's a big test, and we haven't really had too many of them this year. Roscommon probably our only real test, maybe Derry throughout the league. And I think we're going to know a huge amount about both of these two teams come Sunday evening. It's going to be very interesting to see what way Dublin set up. Like at times we've been defensive this year. At times we've gone after teams. I think if we could set up defensively against this Mayo side, and we've seen Mayo struggle against that with the likes of Cork, the likes of Derry, obviously, at times as well. So look, I think from a Dublin perspective, it'd be interesting to see the setup, and it'd be interesting to see the matchups as well. Like I think midfield would be crucial. Mayo have struggled a little bit around that region. So far this year, like Matty Rowan's been in and out of the side. Jeremy O'Connor has been in and out as well. It'd be interesting to see because Dublin, like we've done well to not concede any goals throughout the championship this year, but at times we have been cut open. And Roscommon have had goal chances, Kildare have had goal chances, and this Mayo team will cause Dublin a lot of problems. And to be honest with you, it's a very hard one to call. Like I'm hoping as a Dublin fan, You know, like we just about edge it. We just about have enough. But I think, you know, you're looking at two of the best teams in the country possibly this weekend.
You just never know with Mayo.
Yeah.
You win. Just don't know.
I know, Dan. Yeah.
They're just, as Kevin alluded to, like they probably have the best handling. They probably have the best squad in the country. Like only Mayo could be up 6 points against the Division 2 team, lose by a point, make 7 changes, and potentially make their team stronger, or make it, I wouldn't say stronger, make it more compatible to winning. They're just an enigma. They always have been. I'd hate to be a supporter there. I don't know how they keep going, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. That's
imagine, John, imagine a Mayo person going to a swingers party. You never know what, if you throw the keys in the bowl, you never know what they're going to come out with. You know what I mean?
Class.
Class.
How many days is it since Mayo won Sam, Mr. Prendergast?
I think I've seen there's a Twitter account up there. I think 20,000 days. I think in total.
Who's running that Twitter account? Yeah, who's running?
Yeah, I have no idea who's running that, but I think it definitely because I've seen the 20,000 days was what it reached there. It might have been 10,000, maybe 20,000 is a bit much, but
if the Mayo County Board had any sense, no, they trademarked the word Mayo.
Yeah, I think so. And I wouldn't mind. I'm pretty sure they're using the Mayo badge as well. So, like, I mean, if anyone should be trademarked, it could definitely be them.
It's coming. Don't worry, that Mayo do it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
God. Yeah. Reminiscence of the last time Kev last got the hop. Sorry, Kevy.
Yeah.
No more comment. Last game of the weekend. It is Derry against Cork. Oh, Crow Park, 1:45. Daniel Goulding, hat, scarves, headband. You got your ticket.
Ask one of the boys there now because I'm blinkered. See what get the boys' opinion first.
Oh, you're on a media ban. Apologies, Mr. Dan. Kevin McCarthy.
I have this as my upset of the weekend. Tyrone to beat Kerry is not an upset anymore. Cork, coming from where they've been in recent years, have had numerous defeats to Derry over the last couple of years in the National League. Having to rebuild, as Dan beautifully articulated earlier on about Kevin Walsh coming into the scene. Probably, if truth be told, a wee bit ahead of schedule, maybe under a new management team and panel. Derry, let's remember, Derry made an All-Ireland semi-final last year and got trounced in the second half by Galway, let's just say that. After they had no disrespect to Club, they got a plum draw in the All-Ireland quarter-final last year and weren't really tested inside Croke Park until that semi-final. I think Cork have a lot of firepower up front. I think they have an excellent setup and structure at the minute. I just fear I have a wee bit of doubt, and I'd like to hear Dan a wee bit more on this. The Cork kick-out worries me a wee bit. And what tactic Kieran Meena will play. Look, Derry's tactic is mainly to set off, but if I was Kieran Meena, I'd really be pressing Cork's kick-out. You know, like we heard Dan earlier articulate about, you know, how Cork sat back off Roscommon and then, you know, didn't push up. And look, for me as a manager, if I'm a manager, what would I know? But I would just always push up from the start because you're asking questions, you know, of the goalkeeper. You know, it's 50-50 ball. You're not conceding the kick out straight off. So I have a wee bit of doubt about the Cork kick out there. But look, it is really, really imperative that Cork get off to a good start in this. That's easily said, but remember, this is a Cork team. Many of these lads haven't played in an All-Ireland quarter-final in Croke Park in recent times. You know, it's a youngish enough team, not as Dan articulated. Yes, one or two older lads, but one or two lads there that, you know, have come in and set the scene on fire over this last couple of years for them. Derry were obviously here last year. They're coming in as reigning Ulster champions. They topped their group. So everything is sort of set for, you know, a Derry victory. And this is where Cork come in and sucker punch them. And, you know, Cork... people say, week off last week's good. Yeah, Conor Glass, heard him speaking last week about, we can treat our injuries and guys get a break. For me, if you're playing week on week, you know, yes, you're on a, you know, fitness wise, you know, it's not ideal. But look, psychologically, these Cork guys must be on a high over this last couple of weeks. That momentum is really building coming into this week. And for some reason, I just fancy Cork in this. For some reason, I really do.
Mr. Goulin.
Yeah, look, to be fair to them, since the Clare game, they're playing well. They won a cracker against Laois. Played well against Kerry. Could have won that game. The penalty probably changed it. Dubious penalty. Cork were well in control of that game up to that point. Gave Kerry a lifeline. Dismantled Mayo in the last 20 minutes. Totally took control of the game the last day. But I don't think I'd be hoping fatigue won't be an issue with them. I think they're a fit team. I think the momentum and the confidence they'll have will overcome any fatigue they'll have. I think they have confidence in their fitness. I suppose the big question for me is two things. One, Kevin's right, the Cork kick out can be got at. No, the only thing is if the Cork kick out is under pressure, they're losing at 60, 70 yards from their own goal, and they'll slow the play down and reset. Cork's go to kick out is bang it 60, 70 yards out the right wing and let Maguire and O'Callaghan fight for it, and then they'll slow it down if they don't win it. But it'll come down to now the one fear I'd have, I said that about Cork, was how well they know Kevin's defensive structure and the questions there in ask of it. That's the one thing that remains to be seen. I think Cork, I think naively as well, I don't think Derry will not be as, I suppose, naive as Roscommon were in getting, when they lost the ball, they didn't get back quick enough in the second half. I think Derry will let Cork come on to them a bit more and ask Cork questions of punching holes in them as opposed to being too far up the pitch to defend them. So it'll be an interesting game. This could be another game where you're watching it for fucking 40, 50 minutes and thinking this is a snooze fest. Could easily turn into that type of a game. And look, I suppose what I like about Cork is they're finishing strongly. They're on the crest of a wave. They have no fear. And I suppose Kevin's right. It's a big. There's a lot of pressure on Derry here. Don't be wrong. After winning 2 Ulsters, Galway manhandled them last year in the semi-final, and this is a big test for Derry now as well. Can they front up against a team they should be beating in Croke Park? Suppose, and again, look, it probably all comes down to McGuigan. Cork and Limerick McGuigan, I think they'll have a fighting chance. He's having a majestic year. Everything, if he's not scoring, he's creating. And it'll be interesting to see what sort of plan Cork have to stifle him. And if they do, I think Cork can go close. I think Kevin's right. I think Derry, if they are real All-Ireland contenders, should be winning this game. But I think Cork, if they get a sniff of it, they could put them under pressure too. I don't think Derry are as big favourites as the bookies make. Cork are 3-1. Like 3-1 is a huge price for the way they're playing.
Mr. Goulin, you are whetting the appetite. Lovely for that game. We cannot wait for the weekend's action. Dan, I have to ask you about Kev. You're okay, Kev? Yeah, I have to ask you, Dan, about the late great Teddy McCarthy. Passed away a few weeks ago. What a legend!
Oh yeah, she's a complete legend. Yeah, suppose did some things in the J that'll most definitely never be equalled. I think, like, you look back at those games, and he was a bear of a man, skillful, but it's the leap. It's the leap for the hurling and football. It's those iconic pictures, just incredible. Like, he trained our club for 2 years in hurling back in 14 and 15, and we had a savage time with him. Just an out-and-out JMac, a bit of a character. Just a decent fella, had time for everyone. Had his own demons, but like no denying a true J-man, and I suppose one of the legends of the game, and went too soon from us, and he'll be sorely missed in the country. And I suppose in the wider J circles, I don't think anyone had a bad word to say about him.
What about yourself, Kevin?
Yeah, I mean, I think I couldn't put it better than Dan. Growing up watching him, going to them Meath Cork games in the late 80s, early 90s, phenomenal. And I think the one thing that always stood out is what Dan said. This guy was only 5'9", 5'10", and you would have swore, like if you had it with him, if you hadn't seen him up front, we would have swore he was 6'2", 6'3", just a giant of a player. Skillful in football, so determination driven to do all that in 1 year that he done, to have the skill and ability across two codes that he had. It wasn't as if he was just a bit part player in both. He was, central to both wins. As Dan said, taken too soon, an absolute legend. I don't think anybody will ever do what he's done again. As I say, God bless him.
Absolutely, lads. Well said. Last question, lads. Mr. Prendergast, your player to watch this weekend and bet of the weekend.
Ooh, I think bet of the weekend, I'd go for Cork to beat Derry. I think I'd agree with what the two lads said there. Like, I just have a sneaky feeling Cork are going to snatch it. Like, I think Derry have just played Ulster teams really all year. Like, I don't think they've really, and again, they're probably coming in without a big test. Like the last two games against Donegal and Clare, two sides really that aren't at the races of All Ireland standard, and I just fancy Cork to turn them over. In terms of player of the week, very difficult one. Like, I think Tommy Conroy could have a very good game for Mayo against Dublin. I think he could have a really, really big impact. And at the same time, you're looking at Con O'Callaghan, and look, I think if Dublin are going to win the game and come through it, he's going to have to be at his best. And we all spoke about Dublin Kerry last year when he wasn't available. So I think with him there now, like, I think this is, the last time he played against Mayo, or one of his last performances against Mayo, 2019, he was sensational, and be very interesting to see what plans that Mayo defence have for him.
Beautiful stuff. Kevin?
Bet of the weekend and player of the weekend, same match. Bet of the weekend is at least 4 Tyrone players to get booked against Kerry. And player to watch this weekend, it's been a match made in heaven for the family, obviously for Peter, and then obviously for Dara when his All-Ireland there, and obviously then the brother-in-law, Petey Hart, but young Rory Canavan getting inside Croke Park. Such a young lad, so much talk about him. He's delivering on the big stage right now. This will be the first time he's inside Croke Park in a senior game in terms of an All-Ireland quarter-final. Couldn't ask for a better challenge against somebody like Kerry. He's coming off the back of an excellent performance. And Tyrone are going to need him to step up. And I'm going to be really interested to see, look, I think this kid is the real deal. And if he wants to, from a young age, if he wants to set out that stall to become one of the best, which I have no doubt he's the talent and potential to be, then this weekend is that game. So for me, Rory Canavan is the one player for me that I think can, he's the curveball here for Tyrone.
Mr. Goulin?
I can't pick someone from Mayo because I don't know who they're going to start. They could have another 13 or 14 changes now the next day. So, couple of things I'm looking forward to. I would have said I was looking forward to seeing Rory Canavan in the flesh. That was one thing I was looking forward to seeing. I would say from a Cork point of view, I can't wait to see Colin O'Callaghan and Maguire going up against Glass and Rogers. Colin now and Maguire have formed a serious partnership, and this will be a really big test for them. And I'm just looking forward to seeing that. And then I suppose what I'm also really looking forward to seeing, can Clifford pull a rabbit out of the hat again? If Kerry are to win this game, he's going to have to carry the show like he's been doing for the last 2 years. And you'd imagine if Myler picks up David Clifford like he's done so in the past and quietens them, they'll rely even more on Davis. So just interesting to see Noel David once again put in one of these crazy, majestic performances up in Croker. Because if he doesn't, I don't think Kerry are getting out of there. Bet of the weekend, geez, I don't know. Do you know what? I think Mayo could pull another rabbit here as well. I think Mayo could just come along and ask. I suppose we've been waiting to see our Dublin the real deal with the last 2 years. That nearly beat Kerry last year. I think Mayo are going to ask a huge amount of questions of them, and I don't know will Dublin have the answers anymore. Don't know do they have the appetite for it. They're marquee players. They've been around a long time. I think Mayo will be hungrier, and I think Mayo will take Dublin. That'll be my bet of the week. And
ooh, interesting stuff. 8 teams left. Kevin McCarthy, who's going to win, Sam? One word.
Dublin.
Mr. Prendergast.
Mayo.
Dan.
Cork. No. Go on, Cork. So we go Cork.
Oh, reminiscent of 13 years ago.
I'll be very honest with you. I don't think. I think this is the most wide open All Ireland we've had in years upon years, and anyone could win this.
Yeah. As long as it's not our man.
Like even if you look at the last, if you look at the prelims, they came down to, was it a point in every one of them? Like these games are recklessly tight. They're coming down to moments. Cork game Daly threw a ball to himself, costing the game. It's just like trying to pick a winner of this is just. I'd say any one of 4 or 5 teams I'd say could win this.
Throw the keys in the bowl.
Mayo.
Who will you support on Sunday, John? Armagh or Monaghan?
Oh God. Oh my God. That's like trying to pick. Oh, I don't know. I really don't know. Monaghan maybe closer to me. Granny was from Monaghan. I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Oh, we'll see. I can't even know. I can't even bring myself to say Armagh. I can't. Sorry, Johnny, if you're watching. I can't do it. Lads, we leave it there. Thanks so many for joining this week. And of course, this podcast is brought to you by your great use the code JMac Podcast to get 15% off on the website. Mr. McCarthy, Mr. Prendergast, Mr. Goulding, great to see you. Thank you very much.
Slán.
Brilliant stuff.
Lads. Take care.